Well, I think CUDA is the biggest hurdle for sure. And then from there, it's probably product roadmap versus product roadmap, meaning everything AMD does, can NVIDIA do better by 6 months? And we are really in like a 6 month race right now, which means that NVIDIA puts out the H100, AMD puts out the MI300, which beats the H100 quite a bit on memory. And then NVIDIA puts out HBM3E, and then AMD puts out HBM3E. So it's 6 months apart. Product roadmap, though, like I said, I think AMD has that ability. And where they could potentially circumvent CUDA would be in a few different ways. One is that an R&D department like OpenAI, working with a framework like PyTorch, they have been attempting to circumvent CUDA because it locks in pricing power too. And then the other issue is, does big tech really need CUDA, or can they, with all this custom silicon that they put out, whether it's TPUs, Trainium, Apple, clearly a lot of custom silicon there, can they do they have strong enough engineering departments to circumvent CUDA? Probably, if they needed to, with PyTorch as the framework, Meta, for example, being able to work closely enough with AMD's GPUs. And the reason, so going back to what the other risks are, I would say it's a risk and an opportunity. And the thesis in a nutshell is that an AMD GPU costs $10,000 to $15,000. It costs $10,000 for Microsoft, $15,000 because they buy in bulk, $15,000 for others. NVIDIA's GPUs will cost $30,000 to $40,000. So that incentive of saving, $20,000 or more is big enough for these companies that are building these huge data centers that they're likely to try their very best to make this work with their in-house engineering departments. And now that's big tech only. This will not apply to enterprises and small businesses, which won't have that time or engineering resources to do anything other than CUDA.
Nvidia, one of the biggest names in the tech field currently, was at some point when it was just getting started, almost sold to its current greatest rival AMD. But obviously, this didn't happen, due to Jensen Huang's sole condition to be the CEO of the merged company. Of course, since Nvidia is a lot bigger than AMD now, you might find this hard to believe, but this actually came from an AMD insider. On his X account, Hemant Mohapatra, a former engineer for AMD, recalls that he was present when AMD missed the opportunity to lead in the newborn GPU industry. He also recalled the merging negotiations between the two companies, adding that Jensen Huang wanted to keep Nvidia's GPUs tied to the closed-source CUDA model. But what did AMD do about it? Let's find out. But first, if you want to keep up with Nvidia and AMD's latest updates, and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
He's with us, CEO at Optimus. Good afternoon, Octavio. Some of your thoughts on what we're seeing here in this market, where we're really seeing a divergence today. Some of your thoughts.
Today, I think, as you pointed out, the story is really all about Nvidia and what's going on there. I think it's starting to behave much more like a cryptocurrency than a real stock. It's going up and down pretty wildly. And I think it's a reflection of the fact that people are starting to get a bit nervous about these valuations that we're seeing in Nvidia. I mean, the multiples are just enormous and seem to be growing. I think a lot of participants in the market seem to be assuming that this is just a tree that's going to grow to the sky and never end. And I think it might be worth sort of looking up some of the other semiconductor stocks and seeing what they have up their sleeves and whether they can compete in some way, fashion in the future with Nvidia. And I think if you start to do that, you might see that there are some interesting investment opportunities there as well.
Hemant Mohapatra, a former engineer for AMD, said that in the mid to late 2000s, AMD was considering buying a semiconductor company because it saw an opportunity in GPUs. The management considered Nvidia, but AMD's CEO at that time, Hector Ruiz, had a different outlook and decided to take a shift and purchase the upstarting rival ATI, which was a Canadian semiconductor company. Phil Park, another long-serving AMD employee, had verified Mohapatra's recollections. acknowledging that he never knew Mohapatra in person and adding that he doesn't even agree with him on several points. Yet, he confirmed Huang's primary condition to become the CEO. Mohapatra mentioned in his recollections that at that time, Nvidia was just considered just one of the little boys. And although the company's graphic cards were regarded very highly by most gaming enthusiasts, ATI had much more market share. Mohapatra added that AMD never viewed Nvidia in the same level as ARM or Intel, and they never expected Nvidia to have such potential. But now all of this has obviously changed, as AI is thriving and Nvidia's GPUs and AI hyperscalers are in insane demand, dominating the whole industry of tech, leaving AMD behind trying to catch up. Mohapatra's recollections are very interesting and worthy of your time, with many insights and statements that were never spoken about before regarding the early chip war of the 2000s. And in any case, it's way too late for AMD to regret not having agreed to Huang's demands. But, is that the end for AMD? What might come up next for the pioneer of tech? Let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy.
There's also this feeling from some of the folks I've been interviewing that maybe there's just the whole group of semiconductors in particular, you mentioned those, are just too frothy and overpriced.
Yes, certainly they are pretty rich in value, but none more than Nvidia. So I think if you look at the comparables, if you compare Nvidia to other semiconductor manufacturers, basically gone off the charts. It's completely off the charts in terms of where that valuation lies. I do think they have the potential to catch up with Nvidia at some stage in terms of the chipsets they provide, and in terms of what they provide to data centers in particular, where so much of Nvidia's strength and growth has come over the course of the past year. And certainly some of the biggest data center providers are busily designing their own chips and building their own chips, and quietly doing that without making too much fanfare and noise about it. So I wouldn't expect to see Nvidia's lead continue forever. We're going to see other people come up with new ways to skin a cat with a better mousetrap, and that might make Nvidia look very, very richly priced currently.
Countless hardware companies, such as Dell and Lenovo, need inexpensive AI chips to meet the rapidly increasing consumer demand. This should have been good news for the market leader, Nvidia, but the firm's supply capability is still incompetent compared to the sweeping demand. Therefore, hardware developers started to look for these chips from other sources, of which is AMD. And here's when AMD decided to step in and fill the void that is caused by this supply and demand imbalance. And so, it started to ramp up production for its AI GPU series as an alternative for Nvidia's GPUs. Furthermore, like other semiconductor companies, AMD faced a chip surplus over the past 2 years, which is now beginning to clear as tech companies reduce their excess stock. This led to slow overall revenue growth of just 2% year over year in the most recent quarter. Not only that, but the gaming segment dropped by 48%, and the embedded segment, which serves industries like automotive and industrial, fell by 46% year over year. On the other hand, the company's data center business remains a key indicator of AMD's flourishing future. Revenues from this segment grew significantly by an astounding 80% year over year, standing at $2.3 billion. Not only that, the client segment, which supports servers, laptops, mobile and desktop devices with CPUs, surged 85% to $1.4 billion. The rapid growth caused by the prominent data center and client segments prompted the company to increase its full-year 2024 guidance from $3.5 billion to $4.0 billion. And CEO Lisa Su stated that based on customer engagements, these estimates are realistic. And eventually, earnings from AMD's cloud GPU sales will exceed that of the gaming and embedded center segments that have been dragging down overall revenue. So, what does this really mean for AMD stock? Let's find out. But first, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Look, I want to move on, but the point is you wouldn't be buying Nvidia here. Would you buy it under $100? I don't know. I want to leave folks with the last piece of advice.
I would wait for it to come down quite substantially at this stage. And if I was betting one stock against the other, I would basically look at trying to go long on AMD and short on Nvidia if I could pull off that kind of trading strategy. So that's what I would be looking to do here in this situation. Basically have a neutral position overall in terms of where that market goes, where semiconductors go, but basically say I think AMD has more runway than someone like Nvidia has. And so that's the bet that I would be placing in that market.
With flat year-over-year revenue growth, AMD's valuation, at 46 times next year's earnings, seems high. Nvidia's valuation is slightly higher at 47 times, but Nvidia has shown much stronger recent growth. But since it's categorized as a semiconductor stock, AMD's current valuation does not reflect the company's potential in the long run. And bearing in mind that we're talking about a company that has just made its entry into the AI business, AMD's data center growth was resounding. In addition, the market will remain positive towards AMD's offerings, as cloud providers would prefer a fierce competition rather than getting locked inside Nvidia's ecosystem. Additionally, AMD's offerings are cheaper than Nvidia, and this price advantage gives it an edge over the market leader. Moreover, due to the rising adoption of AI in various businesses nowadays, as companies are starting to integrate AI in their operations and services, and the increasing consumer interest in having devices that are compatible with AI functions, AMD could greatly benefit. In fact, the AI market could grow to a staggering $403 billion by 2027 and $1 trillion by 2030. These projections demonstrate the extent to which AMD can benefit from AI's long-term revenue potential, and with its continuous AI data center development, AMD's valuation will eventually grow as the company's constant increase in earnings show that its long-term AI growth potential is sustainable. In conclusion, investing in AMD stock would definitely be a good decision, especially if you are looking for long-term success, as a new chapter is about to unfold for the firm. But what do you think about AMD stock? Is it a buy at the current price? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to tell us what your valuation for Nvidia is. If you would like to know what companies like AMD have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.